Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. We've got 3 hot stories for you, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the pack. Let's get started. Hello everyone, here's a quick and straightforward update to keep you informed about the latest developments in Formula One. Red Bull is both relieved and highly motivated after securing Max Verstappen's presence for the next season. The confirmation was met with enthusiasm inside the team, which can now focus entirely on the development of its 2026 car. This new machine will be built under a fresh technical regulation, and according to the team, it must be competitive to avoid going through the same uncertainties they've faced recently. Over the past few weeks, Red Bull's performance has declined, and that naturally opened the door for speculation. Rumors began circulating in the paddock, with multiple behind-the-scenes negotiations taking place. Mercedes, in particular, made its interest in signing Verstappen very clear. Still, with so much uncertainty surrounding next year, Verstappen has decided to commit to staying at Red Bull for now. His long-term decision will come later, especially after he sees the new cars on track and finds out which team adapts best to the upcoming regulations. While Verstappen's position is now settled, there's still an open question about the second Red Bull seat. Yuki Tsunoda, Verstappen's current teammate, does not have a guaranteed place for next season. His 2025 results have not been particularly convincing. Although the team acknowledges some improvement in the Japanese driver's performance, reports suggest that Red Bull has already decided not to keep Tsunoda for 2026. One name that keeps coming up in discussions is Zach O'Sullivan, who is reportedly being considered for the seat. Additionally, Red Bull is evaluating the possibility of bringing a new rookie into Racing Bulls, its sister team. This would create a reshuffle in the driver lineup across the organization. Behind the scenes, both Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko and team principal Laurent Mekies have emphasized how important Verstappen's confirmation is. According to them, this removes a massive weight from their shoulders. They can now focus entirely on designing and developing the new car with the certainty that Verstappen will be in it for 2026. The team also believes that Verstappen's commitment will push him to give his maximum effort in helping to shape a competitive car. With his feedback and involvement, Red Bull hopes to ensure that the RB model for 2026 will be capable of fighting at the front from the very first race. Now, the big question is whether Red Bull can actually deliver. The new regulations represent both a challenge and an opportunity. Teams that adapt quickly could dominate the early years of this new era, while those who missed the mark might struggle for seasons to come. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the commitment of a driver like Max Verstappen is an asset any team would value. Whether Red Bull can capitalize on it will depend entirely on how well they execute their 2026 project. So what's your take? Do you believe Red Bull will manage to build a truly competitive car and keep Verstappen beyond 2026? Or do you think other teams might lure him away once the new era begins? Stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated with everything you need to know from the world of Formula One. Always direct, always focused on what really matters. Alpine has launched an internal investigation to understand what went wrong with Franco Colapinto's pit stops during the Hungarian Grand Prix. The Argentine driver suffered 2 unusually slow stops, which ultimately contributed to his disappointing 18th place finish, a frustrating outcome after a promising qualifying performance. Colapinto started from 14th place after advancing to Q2 and opted for a 2-stop strategy. He began the race on medium tires and made his first visit to the pits on lap 15 to switch to hard tires. However, this first stop lasted an astonishing 11 seconds, far above the typical 2 to 3 seconds we expect in Formula One. Later, on lap 38, Colapinto returned to the pits for another set of hard tires, but again the stop was unusually slow, clocking in at 7 seconds. These were the 2 slowest pit stops of the entire race, except for Nico Hülkenberg's 9.6-second stop, which included a penalty. Meanwhile, his teammate Pierre Gasly made just one quick and clean stop, completed in an average 2.5 seconds. This contrast only reinforced that Colapinto's slow stops were not part of the team's planned strategy, but the result of operational issues in the garage. According to Alpine, the main suspect is a software glitch in the pit release system. For those unfamiliar, Formula One uses a safety mechanism where each mechanic must press a button after completing their specific task. Only when all the confirmations are received does the system give the green light for the driver to leave. The current working theory is that the pneumatic gun used on the rear wheel failed to send the correct signal that the tire change was complete. This error may have locked the system and delayed the release of the car on both occasions. Motorsport.com reports that the team considers this an unfortunate coincidence, but is working to confirm whether the software malfunction was indeed the cause. If verified, Alpine will need to address the issue immediately to avoid similar problems in future races. For Colapinto, the incident comes at a particularly delicate time in his career. He desperately needs strong performances to secure his place on the grid, and setbacks like this, even when not his fault, could damage his prospects. Rumors are already circulating that he might not return to Alpine after the summer break. This situation leaves fans and analysts divided. Some believe Colapinto has shown flashes of talent and deserves more time to develop. Others argue that his performances have been too inconsistent and that Alpine might benefit from giving the seat to another driver. What's your take? Is the Argentine simply suffering from bad luck, or has he failed to convince that he belongs in Formula One? Let us know what you think as we continue to follow the story and await Alpine's final findings from this investigation. Who will partner Max Verstappen at Red Bull next season? Will Yuki Tsunoda keep his seat, or will the team bring in a new face? The question remains open, and now Red Bull itself has given an update on the situation. Helmut Marko, the team's senior advisor and one of the key decision-makers when it comes to driver selection, has confirmed that this decision will only be made after the summer break. Traditionally, Red Bull uses this period to evaluate its drivers' performances in detail before making any contractual moves. Marko made it clear that the second seat is far from secure. Tsunoda's current deal runs only until the end of the year, and despite some flashes of speed, he is yet to fully convince the team that he should stay. Red Bull is also closely monitoring Liam Lawson and, in particular, Isaac Hadjar from the Racing Bulls program. According to Marko, both positive and negative performances will be weighed heavily in their evaluation, as the team is looking for a driver who can consistently score points and perform closer to Verstappen's level. The reality is that neither Lawson earlier in the season nor Tsunoda more recently has been able to deliver consistent results. This has put Hadjar higher up the list of potential candidates should Red Bull decide to make a change. Marko also emphasized that it's unrealistic to expect anyone to beat Verstappen within the current team dynamic. The Dutchman's performance is simply too strong. Instead, the focus is on finding a second driver who can maximize their own potential and consistently bring home valuable points for the Constructors' Championship. Another factor working against Tsunoda is his long-standing relationship with Honda. The Japanese manufacturer has backed him since 2016, but that connection may soon lose its relevance at Red Bull. From 2026, Honda will supply engines to Aston Martin instead, which could cast further doubt on Tsunoda's future within the Red Bull organization. With all these factors in play, Red Bull is in no rush to make a final call. The team appears confident that, should they choose to replace Tsunoda, his successor will come from their own driver academy, continuing the team's tradition of developing and promoting talent from within. Fans will likely have to wait a few more months before the final decision is made. Until then, speculation will continue to swirl in the paddock about whether Tsunoda can prove himself worthy of another season or if Red Bull will decide it's time to give a fresh talent the opportunity to step into one of the most coveted seats in Formula One.